From Neural Newscast, this is Deep Dive, exploring the moments that shape today.
Hello, and welcome to Deep Dive. I am Michael Turner.
And I'm Hannah Whitmore. It is March 23rd, and today we're looking at a day that truly defined the word momentous. From the birth of a nation to the origin of the most famous word in the English language.
It is a heavy day in terms of historical weight, Hannah. We are starting back in 1775 in a church in Richmond, Virginia, where the air was thick with the scent of revolution.
St. John's Episcopal Church, that is where Patrick Henry stood up and gave a speech that still echoes through history textbooks today.
Patrick Henry was addressing the Second Virginia Convention. At that point, the colonies were really at a crossroads. Tensions with the British Crown were reaching a breaking point, and Henry wasn't interested in half measures.
He was effectively calling for the Virginia militia to be put on a war footing. He famously argued that the time for petitioning and argument had passed. He said, "I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death."
It is such a stark ultimatum. When we think about the climate of that time, the risk was absolute. To speak those words was essentially an act of treason against the British government.
Absolutely. It wasn't just a catchy slogan. It was a commitment to the ultimate sacrifice for the sake of autonomy and land rights. It galvanized the delegates and helped push Virginia, one of the most powerful colonies, toward open rebellion.
And that rebellion would, of course, lead to the Declaration of Independence a year later. It is a reminder of how much words can shift the atmosphere of a whole continent.
Moving from the birth of a nation to the birth of some truly influential individuals, Michael, we have three very different birthdays to celebrate today, each leaving a unique mark on the 20th century.
First, we look to Japan in 1910 with the birth of Akira Kurosawa. He is widely regarded as one of the most influential filmmakers in history. Think of movies like Rashomon and Seven Samurai.
That's remarkable. His visual storytelling was incredible. He had this way of capturing human nature and the connection to the landscape that influenced everyone from George Lucas to Steven Spielberg. He really bridged the gap between Eastern and Western cinema.
Then, in 1912, we have Wernher von Braun. His story is far more complex, but his impact on science is undeniable. He was the German-American rocket scientist who eventually became the father of the United States space program.
It is a complicated history, Michael. He developed the 5-2 rocket for Nazi Germany before coming to the United States and eventually heading NASA's Marshall Space Flight Center. He was the lead architect of the Saturn V rocket that took humans to the moon.
It is a stark contrast between his early work and the eventual goal of lunar exploration. It shows how technology can be steered toward entirely different horizons, depending on the mission.
And finally, for a change of pace, we celebrate the queen of funk herself, Chaka Khan, born in 1953. She has one of the most powerful and recognizable voices in music history.
I Feel For You is such a classic. 10 Grammys and decades of influence across R&B, funk, and soul. She brought a certain grit and soulfulness to the airwaves that really changed the landscape of popular music.
Right. So, we have a revolutionary orator, a cinematic giant, a space-age scientist, and a funk legend. It is quite a lineup for March 23rd.
It really is. But before we go, we have to talk about something even more ubiquitous than those names. It is something most of us say dozens of times a day without thinking about where it came from.
You are talking about the word okay.
Exactly. On March 23, 1839, the initials OK were first published in the Boston Morning Post. And believe it or not, it started as a joke.
It was part of a slang fad in the 1830s among young, educated circles in places like Boston. They like to intentionally misspell words and then abbreviate them. OK stood for all correct, a misspelling of all correct.
It is funny to think that 19th century slang wasn't that different from how we use LOL or OMG today. There were others back then too, like KY for no use, based on no use, or OW for all right.
But OK was the one that stuck. It actually got a big boost from politics. During the 1840 election, supporters of President Martin Van Buren formed OK clubs. Van Buren was from Kinderhook, New York, and his nickname was Old Kinderhook.
So OK stood for both all correct and Old Kinderhook. It was a double meaning that helped it go national. Even the opposing Whig Party used it, though they tried to use it to mock Andrew Jackson, claiming he invented the misspelling.
The mystery of its origin was actually solved by a linguist named Alan Walker Reed in the 1960s. He cleared up all the rumors, like it being named after an army biscuit or a Haitian port.
It is fascinating to think that 19th century slang wasn't that different from how we use LOL or OMG today. Whether you're in Tokyo, Berlin, or a small farm in the Midwest, people know what OK means.
It is a testament to how language evolves, through culture and even through humor. From Patrick Henry's high-stakes speech to a simple two-letter abbreviation, March 23rd shows us the power of how we communicate.
That is a perfect way to look at it, Hannah. I'm Michael Turner.
And I'm Hannah Whitmore. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time at deepdive.neuralnewscast.com.
Deep Dive is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. Explore history every day on Neural Newscast.
This has been Deep Dive on Neural Newscast, exploring the moments that shape today.